Welcome to another episode, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Thanks to our sponsors, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, comc.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Panini, Topps, and Upper Deck. Excellent sponsors. Hope you'll patronize them, give them a shout out. They're some of the top companies, obviously, in our industry. Today's episode is a recap. I did this about 20 episodes ago. I plan to, I'm just going to see. It just seems like if I do a recap episode every 20 episodes, that's about 4 weeks. And it's a chance for me to look back and give you some feedback. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I'd like to get more feedback, but I'll get more feedback as I get more listeners. So tell your friends. The situation, though, is that since this is very episodic and not serialized, it's not intended, or you're not required to listen to every episode. So I have a number of listeners that tell me they really enjoy certain kinds of episodes. They don't necessarily say they don't like the others, but I understand that some of the episodes are more directed toward older collectors or more veteran collectors, and some are more generally directed at anybody that's involved in the hobby right now. Try to make the episodes somewhat evergreen or timeless, that you could listen to them today or next month or next year. But as you can see from some of the episodes that have been distributed, have been published now, you can see that sometimes I will put an episode out that really applies to, for example, the National Sports Collectors Convention, and tried very hard. I actually put that out the day after I came back, so it was very fresh at that time. I still think there would be value later, but like I said, most of the episodes are going to be timeless, but occasionally, for example, the Labor Day issue, if you're going to talk about Labor Day, people say, is it Labor Day now? Well, we're into September now, but like I said, we will have a variety of types of episodes. This recap episode is an opportunity for me to go back through, tell you what I sensed from your listenership and the responses from my listeners. So starting, this will cover episode 19 through episode 38. So it's basically most of August. Again, since the National Sports Collectors Convention was over on Sunday, August 4th, 2019. So episode 19 was the recap episode for the very, very successful show that had just finished the night before. I'd just gotten back on the plane from Chicago and had a very positive episode. The issue was well liked. It was one of the larger, one of the more popular episodes. And again, I realize if I want to be more timely, I'll probably get more listeners. But if I think about doing this for a year, or let's say 4 years, if I do it for 4 years, I got 1,000 episodes of fill. So I'm hoping that I'll get feedback from you that if I've got 1,000 episodes, I ought to be able to get a bunch of things that will be of interest to you and your collecting friends. And if they're not, just let me know. I'll do more of what people like and less of what they don't. The episode 20 was a recap of it was actually the first 19 episodes. And that was, I think people like that okay. Again, I just have when I look at how many downloads I have, that they are not all distinct people. I have a lot of people that really make a point to listen to certain kinds of episodes and then maybe on the others. Episodes 21, 22, and 23 were very, very popular. This is an excellent format for me. They were 3 sponsors, outstanding individuals, very accomplished in their craft. It was the 3 interviews I did at the National, so they were very fresh, with Mike Fruitman, Tim Getch, and Rob Veras. I guess if I think about it, they're probably all mature, solid young men. I just realized maybe they're like old enough to be my sons. They're not my adopted sons, but they're just good friends who are younger than me and really have a lot to offer. And I really enjoyed doing the interviews. Each one was a little bit different. I enjoyed each one in their own way. And when you're sitting across the table with somebody and you know them to some extent, but you're getting to know them and you can work off each other. So I had a lot of fun with that. I'd like to do more of that. Unfortunately, those guys all live in different parts of the country. The issue 24 was on trimming, card trimming, and that was popular. I think a lot of people listen to that. I hope you appreciate that I'm trying to take a positive tone on that. I'm not saying there aren't bad apples out there, but I think the good guys need to win, and that means not covering up when if something's wrong, let's identify it and move on and make things right. So the card trimming just is it's very upsetting when it's deceptive. So you can listen to the episode. I would recommend that to you. I can do more on it if you want, but like I said, I want to look at it in a positive way. That 99% of the is good. Episode 25. I know 2 show promoters that really appreciated the upcoming show preview. Rich with his Adat Havarim show, which was just this week, and Kyle Robertson's first show out at the Waters Creek venue that was here in the northern northeast kind of suburb in Allen of close to Dallas. Both shows are completed now. They are both good in their own way. And we did get a fair amount of traction. Both of the promoters mentioned that they did have people that had heard about the show from the podcast. The 2 tributes, episodes 26 and 36, were Dan Even and Wayne Varner. And I'm not going to make any apologies about my age or experience, but unfortunately, some of these tributes are men who are my age or slightly older. And I definitely feel that I should do these episodes. I realize I've actually had compliments on all of these tributes. There's 2 kinds of compliments I've gotten. I've gotten compliments from people that listened and knew the men or knew the men at that point and were complimentary of that. Certainly guys that made an impact in the industry and are guys worth honoring. But there's a second kind of compliment of some guys that I knew that have come up to me and said, I'm so sorry I didn't know that guy. Dan Even in particular, I had a close friend who said, I never got to know him. And now the way he described it, I said, well, your interests were not that much overlapping with his. And you've done so many things in the industry, but you just perhaps never crossed paths. But if you would have, he was a good man. And same with Wayne Varner. The next, I'll do another couple together. I'll do 3 together here. Episode 27, 32, and 33 were with 3. Gosh, these guys are maybe young enough to be my grandsons. But it's Stefan Luffler, Eric Norton of Fat Packs, and Dane Conan of Dynasty Break. So Stefan is about the cards. I just appreciated the enthusiasm each one of them brought, and they have passion for digital media, let's say, because some of them are doing more video stuff. But the other thing that I learned is that they all have fans and followers, and so for me to help promote them or bring them to the attention of my growing audience, it's a good thing. So breaking is perhaps more popular than I realized. Dane's episode pulled very well. That wasn't a huge surprise, but Eric, same thing. Eric is a podcasting pro. He's got amazing track record, and the enthusiasm he brings. I mean, I'm a friendly introvert, so I'm drumming up the enthusiasm for 15 minutes. Eric's maintaining it for an hour or more. And again, my hat's off to him. Same with Stefan and his team at About the Cards. They really enjoy what they're doing. My interview with Dave Slipka, episode 28. As I said, Dave's one of my heroes in the hobby. We worked together for a couple decades. I've known him for almost 3 decades now, and he's done so many different things. And again, many of these interviews take on a personal connection of walking back through the overlaps we had with Dave. I had a lot. And again, giving him a chance to ask me questions or bring up stories that he remembers that are not top of mind for me. And so I really enjoyed that. I'll have Dave. Definitely Dave over again. Episodes 29, 30, and 31 were a trio. They were the second parts of the interviews I did at the National with Mike and Tim and Rob, Mike Fruitman and Tim Getch and Rob Veras. They were not titled the same way. I don't want to have interview part 1, part 2. That seems disingenuous, but to get into Mike's, desire to make his shop and the hobby more kid-friendly, walking through the technological advancements that have happened in my lifetime and that Tim Getch has I think, wonderfully accelerated. He's brought his technology background to provide a service that gives a lot of people enjoyment, including me. And Burbank, again, Rob he's doing it. He's just not talking about it. He's doing it. And, if he came up to you and said, "Hey, here's what I think I'm going to do," you'd say that's pretty outrageous that you would have 43 million cards and you can go, find them in 15 seconds or something, that things are so well organized. Episode 34, another interview from a voice from the past. Again, I realized that if you knew Jay back in the day, he's been kind of out of the industry for a while, but if you knew Jay in the day, you would get it, and you would enjoy hearing what Jay's been up to, and Jay's particular back and forth that he and I had from the early days of the company. He was employee number 13, and we got up in close to 200. So he was there really close to the beginning, and a real contributor. Episode 35 was about sorting cards. Not very controversial, even though it's a necessary thing. I have more to say about that, but I wanted to get one episode out and see. I mean, people don't talk about sorting cards. I think there are some very expedient ways to do it that I've learned over many decades. But if sorting cards is a chore for you, and again, for some people, it's such a chore, they don't even do it. They pick out the cards they like, and the rest of them, I don't think they're not only not worth sorting, they're not even worth taking with them. So that's upsetting. But, again, if you make a purchase and if you order a hot fudge sundae and you only want to eat the whipped cream or the cherry on top and leave the ice cream and the brownie and the hot fudge, if you paid for it, you can do what you want to. But I'm a believer that if you sort the cards right, then if something emerges, you can find it. Episode 37 was the third. I did a third interview with Mike Fruitman, and I wanted to do one that was turning the tables. Again, I had said that I'd known Rob Veras for a really long time. I've known Tim Getz since he got in the hobby, I guess, or since he started his business, and tracked with him, met with him kind of every year, and we talked on the phone. Mike Fruitman, different. But he's been out there doing great stuff. I'd always heard of him, and I thought, I'm going to let Mike kind of interview me. So again, I hope you understood the spirit of that. I do want these episodes to be unscripted to some degree. On the other hand, I want it to be interesting, and I don't want it to be just somebody or a couple of guys talking without that is aimless. So Mike, sharp guy, and asked me some sharp questions. We'll do it again. Finally, the last episode in this group of 20 was the origin story of Labor Days. Again, I don't know that I overplayed it or underplayed it, but Labor Days were a big deal back in the day. I had a lot of deadline pressure, and that long Labor Day weekend was a really important weekend for me to catch up. And again, it's bittersweet because there are trade-offs that you make, but in order to accomplish what I needed to accomplish, I felt working on Labor Day for that season of my life was the right thing to do. So it begs the question of labor and work. What is the definition of work? Because I work a lot now, but I don't get paid. So I don't think it's work because you get paid or don't get paid. Work can be, so what is work? Is work defined as things that you have to do or are told to do, as opposed to what you want to do? There's an expression that if you find the passion of your life, you find something you really want to do, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Well, tell that to your family, if you're working long hours. So, again, the fact that you love to do it, it's still work, and it's still important. I don't want to get too preachy, but it's still important to take breaks and to have balance in your life. And there can be seasons where that balance is clearly not, you can't optimize it, but it's good to do some catching up when the smoke clears and when you get smoother sailing. So I've certainly done that now. Very blessed. But I don't want to take for granted that a lot of that was the hard work I put in with a bunch of outstanding teammates who also burned midnight oil in assisting us to be a reliable and relied upon source. So again, thanks for your listening. If you got questions or comments, send them to the email, drjamesbeckett@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll listen to some of these and future episodes and tell your friends. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or everywhere else that there are podcasts. So again, thanks for your attention, and I will be with you again tomorrow.